Hello, my name is Nicole, and thank you so much for taking the time out to listen. Today, we are talking about sociopathic relatives. Sociopathic relatives. For some of you all, let us go back to what the definition of sociopath is. I have talked about antisocial personality disorder in the past. I've talked about narcissism on this channel, as well as other personality defects, disorders. Some of you all, you have followed me for quite some time, and I've been very forthcoming with information based on my personal experiences with these types, in addition to much study. I get into some of this in Tell Me Mother You're Sorry, as well as Say Goodbye to Dad. Okay? A sociopath is a person with a personality disorder manifesting itself in extreme antisocial attitudes and behavior and a lack of conscience. Okay? Once again, this is a person who has a disorder within their personality. Okay? And their attitude is not the social attitude, even though they can present themselves to be a stellar individual, a family man, a good mother, okay? But we pick up on some things, and we will describe a person like this as a nutcase, a nut job, right? Something's off about her or him. He's cuckoo, or she's a psycho, or he's a schizo. But we got all sorts of names, okay, on the street about people like this. But the psychological term is sociopath, okay? Now, I got the definition, and just an FYI, from the Oxford Dictionary. I want to mention another definition found on dictionary.com. We're going to make it plain. And we're also going to talk about how this takes an odd turn where the personality disorder is right there in the household around you or out there in the street somewhere. But then it starts to manifest itself in something that's crazy, something that brings all sorts of attention to the family. And you say, I can't believe he or she did this. Sociopath, a person with a psychopathic personality whose behavior is antisocial, often criminal, and who lacks a sense of moral responsibility or social conscience. Some of these people, they know there's something off about me. I don't have morals like others. I can do some dirty things and sleep at night. I can be real sneaky, tell my wife or my husband I love them, then go right to the phone and look at some porno and then reach out to this chick or that guy. Oh, some folks, woo, Jesus, they are like this. And we will look at them and we'll say, she has a great relationship, or he has a good marriage, and I wish I could be like this one and that one. It's an act. I remember a relative told me, because I thought that there were these two other relatives who had such a great marriage, great relationship, right? And this relative came to me and said, they are so phony. I said, what? And I thought she was so negative for even saying that. Oh, please, girl, can't you see? That's phony. All that hugging and kissing and he rubbing her back, and please, he's a cheater. And I'm thinking like, wow, she picked up on that. And the rest of us were just, oh, I wish. And I mean, oh, that's so great. And she's like, phony. Woo, that man's so phony. He cheating on her probably now. My God. You see, God can give some people the type of vision where they can see what's on the other side when we can't. They can be able to pick up on some things that's not right. Chances are you got family members right now that have said, don't believe everything that uncle said or cousin or your brother-in-law or your sister-in-law. They got issues, honey. And then later on, it comes out in that major argument. It comes out when he says he wants a divorce out the clear blue. It comes out when she packs up the bags one day and she left the man and the kids. It comes out when two people start fighting and it ends up being major injuries, or worse, people end up in their graves. Woo! What's in darkness shows up in the light. And you know the reason why a lot of times we don't see it early on? Because that one who's so in love, he or she's putting up such a front that just when we thought we're on to something, something's off, I need to talk to my daughter, my son, my cousin, my brother, what have you, they put up another smoke screen for us. I mean, we got members of the family, unfortunately, and I see this in the spirit, even in my own family, where they are young and they're caught up in these ridiculous relationships. They didn't learn from us. And they're being smacked and kicked and disrespected and lied to and just so much ugly. And the woman or the man who's so desperate to put on a good front, whose ego is probably just as big as the sociopath's ego, is trying to keep up that false front. If some of you all need an example, a really good one, it's that one dealing with the individual out here in Colorado who was unfortunately a sociopath, and who went so far as to killing his wife and two girls. It's still fresh to me, so that's why I'm kind of stumbling a bit, because it's one of those things that hurt, because you've come across people like this. I mean, I talked about people like this on my channel. Men who didn't want to be fathers. I talked about this way back when, in When Mothers Cry, in the Scott Peterson case, when I was living out there in Ohio. That was another, I don't know what it is. But these situations, I mean, they happen right there in the state that I live in. But when I was out there in Ohio and it was Christmas and the woman went missing, and then Scott Peterson came on the channel, television news station, to be more specific, and he was talking about how his wife went missing and how he wanted her to go home or come home, and the unborn child, of course, she was pregnant. I mean, he murdered her. And at that time, that story sat with me. I said, we're always talking about women and how women go crazy and they murder their kids or they go off and do something. And then here we got these so-called stellar fathers, and they're attractive, you know, men too. And they go off and they do things to the pregnant women. They have them murdered if they're in a very high position of society, where they end up causing so much hell that they drive the woman mad, and then she commits suicide. And it boils down to, really, they don't want them babies. Okay. They don't want them babies. You made a grievous error when you got pregnant by that man who you thought you could somehow keep at home. And he may even convince himself for a time that this is okay. This is all right. Our relationship will thrive. It'll rebound now that I'm having a son or having a daughter. And then that crying baby shows up and the man realizes that I still don't like her or love her, and I still want out this relationship. So he finds somebody else. Nobody knows, at least initially, that that's what he's up to. Then eventually he's so busy, caught up in Scott's situation out in Ohio, he was leaving a lot. Okay. And his mistress, of course, wanted to distance herself from the relationship, because now she realizes this man is a murderer. And he can't, and the thing was that later on she gets on Dr. Phil and she talks about how she was charmed, how she believed, you know, him and all this other stuff. Okay. Or it wasn't Dr. Phil, it was another show. But this was another woman, though, who was on Dr. Phil, who was talking about a relationship she was caught up in with a sociopath. Okay. Oh my goodness, it's so much out here anymore. And we as believers, as followers of Christ, we are shining a light because we don't want people to be caught up in this warp that's satanic. It is nothing more than satanic. When you get yourself connected to whether it's a man or woman who has these personality defects that nobody bothers to really look at them for what they are and distance or protect themselves because, well, I got my share of issues too. Yeah, but see, your issues might be so small compared to that person who you're with whose issues are huge. Your ego tripping might be so minute compared to that person who you're dating whose ego is off the chain. And you can't tell me that over time, what is in darkness isn't going to show up in the light so much, in fact, that people will say, get away, get away. I'm telling you, I was that one who was always dismissing somebody's personality defect because, well, I got my own, right? Oh, such a codependent. I'm going to fix some things. I'm going to be there. One person described me years ago as being that one. Jesus. See, I can laugh about it now because when you know yourself and you know your weaknesses, but then God is working with you. Okay. You don't hold on to that stuff. I'm moving out of that. I'm a work in progress, right? But I was that one who I really thought I could fix some folk if I just did more. Some of you all know what I'm talking about. Maybe if I cooked more, if I cleaned more, if I talked more, if I didn't talk so much, if I, I'm going to I'm going to do a makeover. I'm going to recreate myself for this individual. Oh yes, I'm talking about we going to do some things to make this person like, love, want me because I'm seeing that he's becoming distant, or I'm seeing that this is the relative who was, all excited and liked me and we had a great connection. But now she's seeing some of my flaws. So I'm going to try to fix some things. And then I'm seeing some of her flaws. So I'm going to try to, tell her what she needs to do and blah, blah, blah. And meanwhile, it's something so deep going on with these people. Okay, so deep that you can't fix it. Matter of fact, you tell yourself, you know what, I need to fix myself. Forget this. And that's the point that I got to after I've been burned so many times and seen so much strange stuff going on. It's things I can't even talk about on the internet. But just, whoa, this person is exhibiting some weird behavior, you see, and I can't get mixed up or caught up or continue to support. Yeah, because that's those demons coming out. Jesus. We just call them like they are. We got so many people who don't like us talking that way. Don't say that that's a demon. Well, if it's something that I can't explain, it's something that is creepy, that's dark, that their mothers and fathers can't even wrap their head around. The psychologist is troubled and scratching her head. Then come on now. That's a demon. Woo, Jesus. Some folks have gotten on prescription medicines behind some of this. And you know what the prescription medicines did? It only amplified the personality disorder. It didn't heal it. It didn't cure it. It didn't make the person any better. If anything, they got worse. You see, these personality disorders, some people live with for the rest of their lives, and they only get worse as they get older for some. Some folks, it actually got better over the years because they had some other sickness that somehow just caused a personality disorder to kind of go into hiding or die off somewhere. I don't know. But either way, though, something took place. And so they're not as bad as they once were. And they're able to actually have a decent relationship. But some people, no. And when you get children involved, somebody wants to start having babies, it gets worse. Now, what is one of the common traits with these sociopathic folk in the family? They're always telling some kind of lie. And they are so good about talking about other people being liars, but they are so skilled at telling lies themselves. If they start keeping track of how many lies that they've told over days, weeks, and months, it would be frightening. If you even took the time out to start documenting all the lies, it would scare you. That's a sociopathic person jumping off the page of your journal. Jesus. What else can we say about these sociopaths? Well, their father is the father of lies, Satan. It's a given. It's a fact. If you want to go into the scriptures and take a look at the scriptures related to Satan, you will see that there is some parallels. I mean, Satan has a huge ego, wanted to be God. Okay, but then Satan got kicked out of heaven because of all of his foolishness. Now, a lot of these folks, they got a history of having fallen out situations on the job, things that they end up covering up because a fellow sociopathic boss or manager or supervisor, whatever, found them out. And sooner or later, somebody's got to go. And so they're not going to tell you the truth about what really went down, what led up to the termination or the layoff or the firing. They're not going to do that because another common denominator of them all is the fact that they're good at covering up. They know how to cover up. They got password protection on just about everything. They have limited conversation on anything that makes them even look a little bit bad or anything that we could take that information and follow the rabbit trail and find out that, oh my goodness, this man or this woman's been lying all this time. So they were unfaithful. Yep, that's another common denominator. They're unfaithful. We look at David. David had his weaknesses, didn't he? He had wives. I forgot about all that. One day I was reading the scripture. He had wives when he was looking at Bathsheba. A common denominator is they're never satisfied. They're never satisfied with what God has already blessed them with. All of the things that have taken place in their life. Nope. They're always after something more. You got the beautiful home. Oh, we got to move into another home. Why? Because this one's not good enough. You got the beautiful children. Yep, I know I got the beautiful children. For some of them, they go off and they want to have babies with some others. I had relatives, God rest their souls, that was like this. See, these are the character traits that some people won't even delve deep into. They won't even list it in the medical journal or wherever else because, well, it's not that prominent or it doesn't happen that often. But a lot of times when you're dealing with sociopathic individuals, there are those things that you do have to think a little deeper about that do show a pattern. There needs to be some more study, some more research. There is something that we saw early on, how they dealt with their families, you see. But the victim, all of what the victim is saying about the person gets suffocated by the craziness that the sociopath has done. So we could have picked up on something that was major, a major sign that the victim told us. But because we got inundated with the just evil acts that the sociopath committed, it gets swept under the rug. Now there's 10, 15, 20 plus other people that's going to get caught up in the foolishness of a new sociopath that shows up on the scene. You see, basically my point is that family need to get together and let's talk about what we observed with this newcomer that she's so in love with. Let's get together and pinpoint some things. He always got something negative to say about his family, but he does it in a slick way, in a joking way. or he's got something to say that's not quite right about her being pregnant, and he doesn't take her anywhere, and he doesn't act very kind or sweet, or he's keeping up some kind of stress, almost as if he's trying to get her to lose the baby. But then he turns around and he apologizes, and he says that, oh, I'm so sorry, honey, and blah, 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 right? Or he's not being as proactive in going with her to the doctor's appointments as he was when he first got the news. So she's oftentimes talking about how she can take care of this and she doesn't need him to go, but he's being a bit odd. Okay. I know some people have their bad days, but then we're looking at a sociopath that his bad days are starting to increase, but he's covering them up because he knows how to put on a good front by taking a bunch of pictures that everybody's smiling, everybody looks good. But the reality is that he's causing a lot of stress because he's so into his computer, his phone. He's not present. He's not in the moment. He's not conversing. The kids even notice that he's not conversing with his wife, okay, as much as most men would, okay. There's something on the stove and he says nothing about that. There's something happening with the children and he doesn't have too much to say except, oh, stop it, or, you know, there's just these things that most men would get up and they'd see about the children, or most men would be proactive in the children's lives, and he's making up excuses as to why he can't give up some time to see about his child, right? So when he's called out on it, now he's got to build up a front that looks like he's proactive when his mind isn't there. And the kids will say things like, he's not paying attention to us when he's out and about with us. Or he's over there talking to all these people that we don't even know instead of paying attention to the game. Or he is in the phone looking at all sorts of stuff. I don't know. And he's also texting. I don't know what he's texting, but he's definitely not paying attention to us. But it's like the sociopathic's ways is so much like a person who they did a really dastardly deed, right? But they don't want anybody to know about it. So let me hurry up and put on a suit, clean my face up, right? Put on some cologne. Let me just create this atmosphere that looks like I've got it together, even though I don't. Some people will work very, very hard to create an image based on what they watched or read about. Sometimes you can find the storyline that the sociopath is creating in something that he wrote or in something that she created. But it's a perfect story. It's not going to show flaws, right? Because I don't want you to know. So exposing his or herself on one's weaknesses, not the sociopath. He's going to protect his or herself. Now, every now and again, if we do see the fruitcake sort of behavior show up, that's because it was beyond his or her control, but it wasn't meant to be seen. You see what I mean? If nuttiness shows up, it showed up because it slipped through the cracks. He wasn't on point that day. In the way he's talking, in the way he's walking, in the little weird behavior with his head or his eyes or his arms, right? But when you see it and he knows or she knows that you see it, okay, let me get myself under control again. Telling you, it's some deep stuff going on with these sociopaths. So there are some traits that when we're looking at these relatives, if you will, you want to pay close attention to. I'm going to pull some information off of health.com, 9 ways to spot a sociopath, and I'm going to throw in the family, and I'm going to add to these points too, okay? First of all, they have a lack of empathy. Okay. You're talking to them, for instance, on the phone about something that's very troubling, that's hurt you, and they're going, okay, all right. Why would they behave like this? Chances are is that they have a long track record of suppressing their emotions. They started most likely when they were children because mom and dad told them, you're too sensitive, shut up, you cry too much, be quiet, this sort of thing. There is a lot of weird things that they've gone through, so the weirdness tends to show up in the personality, hence the personality defect. Okay. So another thing that we find out about these folks is that not only do they have a lack of empathy, but they have difficult relationships with others. Okay. The relationships that are not difficult are the ones where, let's give an example, the ones where they don't have to deal with people for a long period of time. Okay. These are the folks that aren't up in their face often. Okay. So of course it's going to be easier on the job because a lot of those folks are too busy doing their work. So what's going to be difficult about having a relationship with a sociopath, on the job? We're all working, but the challenging relationships, the difficult ones, are the ones where we're in their presence quite a bit. Okay. Or you're calling that sister, brother, cousin, whoever, a little too often. And now here comes the challenge. Okay. Now you're going to get to see the ugly side show up. Okay. The article says that rather than forge connections with the people in their lives, they might try to exploit them for their own benefit through deceit, coercion, and intimidation. And sometimes they don't even have to do that much, because sometimes if you're a victim of previous abuses or what have you, you pretty much lay your life right before them. You're giving to them. You're buying them. You're serving them. That's what I was doing. See, so there, for some of these people that were in my lives, they didn't have to deceive me or coerce me or intimidate me, because I was just naturally doing some things for them and they were benefiting. You see, but when God woke me up to the games that they were playing on me, that is when I was no longer the food for the narcissist. I was no longer that good woman to the sociopath, you see. Lord Jesus. See, because God is no friend to the sociopath. God is no friend to the narcissist. So when they still want to get something from you, that's when they're going to start with the deceitful behavior. They're not going to be straightforward with you about those other people that they're feeding off of, the new narcissistic supply. Okay. Come on. Because sociopaths, they have an ego that's very large. And usually the sociopath also has narcissistic behaviors. And I've been around those individuals who carried both, not just narcissism, but sociopathic behavior as well. Okay. Some of them were violent. Okay. One particular person, I actually did have to physically fight. Another one, I ended up, being the aggressor because of what I had gone through, because I picked up on the behavior. Okay. That sociopathic behavior. You're not going to jump up in my face and intimidate me. You're not going to be the one that's going to push on me and think that I'm going to be cool with that. You see, but that narcissistic sociopathic type who's been around the way, who's had his or her share of heartbreak or what have you, they try you. They try you. And some of you all, as you very well know, I'm not the one. Manipulativeness, that's another thing. They're going to seduce. They're going to ingratiate themselves with the people around them for their own gain or for entertainment. So if the sociopath or sociopathic narcissistic person picks up that they can be entertained by the children, well, of course, they're going to support them in all sorts of events until the child stops liking that particular club, sporting event, what have you, and doesn't want to do it any longer. Or the child is just simply a young adult, okay, because, hey, they graduate and they find their own entertainment for themselves. So now that sociopath cannot benefit, okay. I mean, what good? You might even hear them say something like, what good are you? What good are you if you're not giving me anything? You're not giving me money. You're not giving me a place to stay. You're not helping out with the bills. What good are you then? You used to do this for me. You used to do that. You used to be a part of that group. Yeah, I used to be. Well, how come you're not? Yeah, and that was the group that he used to brag about, or that was the hobby that she used to talk about to her friends that you were a part of because it made her look good and because it was a benefit. You see what I mean? Ooh, Jesus. Some of you recognize that with your narcissistic sociopathic parents who got those secrets that you have yet to hear about. May have been responsible for taking some folks out or having some people beaten. Okay. There's a personality defect. Yes, we do have people who have parents who have done some very foul, very messy stuff and managed to not go to jail. Just because they never served time in jail doesn't make them a good person. Just because they smile in your face every now and again doesn't make them a sweet, nice, wonderful relative. Okay. I got some dirty, downright ugly relatives, and they're 6 feet deep in their graves. And some of them, the reason why they're there is because of their sociopathic, narcissistic type of behavior that eventually caught up to them. Okay. And that's the truth. The truth that some people will be like, shh, be quiet. Don't talk about the dead like that. No, the dead was walking dead, talking ugly and causing all sorts of problems when they were on this side. So why is it that we're going to suddenly start telling lies like the sociopath and the narcissist now that they're 6 feet deep in their grave? And yes, if you hear the anger in my voice, I do have that because of the simple fact is we still got some relatives who deceive themselves into believing things that are untrue about the deceased. Psychopaths are charming. That is part of their game. Okay. Just like the narcissists that are out there. That is what they do. And the article says it on health.com about those sociopath traits. If you don't want to believe me, Dr. Black says it may be true of some, and it is often said of the psychopath that they're superficially charming. But I see plenty of antisocial men in my hospital and in our outpatient clinic, and I would not use the term charming to describe them. That's right, because when you're around them long enough, charming goes out the window. Charming to the woman or the man who every now and again deals with your brother or your sister or cousin or what have you. Okay. But that's every now and again, once in a blue moon. But how about those that are around them all the time? And chances are Dr. Black, right? That's what he is. He's around them all the time. And he's not describing them as charming. Another symptom of this sociopathic behavior is deceitfulness. They're very dishonest and they're deceitful. They often feel comfortable lying to get their own way. So in their mind, they think that, oh, I lie to you. Well, that's because I don't want to deal with the arguments. I lied to you because, well, I want to get my way in on this. And I know that you're going to object. I lied to you because I want to keep out of trouble. Because I know how you are. You got some relatives who, when you confronted them about their lies, they even said this sort of thing. They didn't sugarcoat it. They told you, this is why I lie. Or they told you why they lied to their wives or their husbands. Right? They also have a tendency to embellish the truth when it suits them. Oh, I think today I'm going to not really tell everything. Oh, I'm just going to tell part of it. And you know, on this channel, we are always exposing liars. That's why some of those folks, when you see the thumbs down on some audio or video that you're saying, oh my goodness, really? Nobody should be thumbing this down. That's because that's 9 times out of 10, somebody who got exposed and they didn't appreciate me exposing them. Okay, whether we know each other or not, they didn't appreciate it. How about that callousness that the article talks about? Some might be openly violent and aggressive. I talked about the person who did me wrong and laboring to love an abusive mate. Okay. They are cold people. They are cold-blooded. Some of them will even say, yeah, I know I can be cold at times, but that's part of my job. And well, your job is your job. But when you come home, you should not be that way. You shouldn't. That's the family that's supposed to be your comfort. That's the family that's supposed to be there for you, right? But you got some people who, nope, they don't have one bit of compassion in their bones. They are violent. They're aggressive. They talk tough, right? Oh, I'm going to mess you up. I'm going to beat you down. They talk about what they're going to do to other people. Oh, if I wasn't in this situation right now, I would go over there and I would hurt them. If I had a gun, you see what I mean? You know, some of you all, you know, there is something wrong with a person like that. That's your sociopath. They may not have been bold enough to kill anybody just yet, but they get in their little circles with people who's okay and all right with all that tough talk, and they have a whole lot to say while they putting on a front. Oh, I don't talk that way around my wife. I don't talk that way around my kids. But let me tell you, right? And they start running it. Others will cut you down verbally, right? So no, they may not be threatening, and they may not be going up to you and taking you out of here or killing somebody that they said that they might. But they know how to sure cut some people down verbally. They know how to take words and phrases and just belittle you. Have you filled up with tears. That's so wrong what you said. That's so cold. They might even throw a laugh in there and say, I'm just joking. But the damage is already done. And you never see that person quite in the same way as you did before. Either way, people with ASP tend to show a cruel disregard for other people's feelings. Antisocial personality disorder. Hostility. Sociopaths are not only hostile themselves, but they're most likely to interpret others' behavior as hostile. Talk about the kettle and the pot, which drives them to seek revenge. They'll be the first ones talking about, I can't believe she said that. I can't believe she jumped up in my face and she did all of this. And and then you call them out on, well, wait a minute. Didn't you just do that to somebody else? I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about what she did to me. Oh my goodness. Jesus. Irresponsibility. Another sign that someone might have this sociopathic personality disorder, right, is a disregard for financial and social obligations. They ignore bills. Okay. You know you're supposed to pay that on this particular day, and they'll keep ignoring that bill until folks threaten to cut things off or actually cut things off. Okay. Don't want to take care of their children. They know they should be sending some money. Now we got to get the law involved. We got to get child support involved. Some of you all, you didn't want to do it. You didn't want to do it. You even went to the Lord. You prayed. You said, Lord, I pray that this man or woman will do the right thing by my child. But didn't. Okay, now we got to get law enforcement involved. We got to go to family court and all that because of your sociopathic ex. Okay? Impulsivity. Oh, they're going to plan something at the last minute. Oh, I'm a spontaneous type. Oh, it sounds so cute, right? During the dating phase. They're so spontaneous. And then the next thing you know, they're doing this sort of thing with everything. And you know that you might be the type of person that, hey, we got to have a plan. I don't like to be caught up trying to scramble up some money for things. Impulsive moments, last minute trips. Suddenly they're going to just change their whole look. All before they was talking about they weren't going to get tattoos. Now they got a whole arm full of tattoos. Okay. Risky behavior. We don't need to use a condom. Going to the article, combine irresponsibility, impulsivity, and the need for instant gratification. And it's not surprising that sociopaths get involved in risky behavior. They tend to have little concern for the safety of others or for themselves. That's how the baby showed up for some folks. He convinced you, right? Told you, I'm going to do this. I'm going to take care of this, that, and the other. And then left you with what? Whether it was a baby, an STD, or something else. This means that excessive alcohol consumption, drug abuse, compulsive gambling, unsafe sex, and dangerous hobbies, including criminal activities, are common. When you got a guy or a woman that comes into your life and they don't mind that you have possibly some of these issues. That's because they got some of these issues. You see, if you're the recovering, whatever that might be, and they're so just, oh, it's okay, it's all right. Meanwhile, they're not recovering from anything. They're in deep. Or the one that you tell them, listen, I practice safe sex. And they say, oh, it's no big deal. you know that they've been having unsafe sex with all them other people. Okay? And now they want to do this sort of thing with you too. Those are early signs, I kid you not, that somebody got some sociopathic type of ways about them. You upset about something once again. I can't believe this happened to me. Oh, and they're saying, oh, it's cool. It's all right. You'll be good. Now, one thing that I got to mention, because I said as people get older, you know, some of these behaviors, they tend to go into hiding or they go away. Here's what Dr. Black said. The good news is that symptoms of ASP, antisocial personality disorder, seem to recede with age, says Dr. Black. That's why for some of you all, your relatives, when they were acting up way back in their younger years, aren't so bad now. Doesn't mean, though, that they don't still have this antisocial personality or sociopathic personality disorder. Doesn't mean that. Okay. It just means that they're older now. Among milder sociopaths and those that don't do drugs or drink to excess, once again, some of these signs are going to recede because they're not using the drugs like they did back when they were younger. They're not drinking as much. But once again, some of those symptoms are still very evident. Now, if you know someone, and I'm sure most of us do know someone or some group, you need to steer clear of people like this. I know that that's your daddy. I know that's your mother. I know that's your brother or your husband or your wife or what have you. But if these issues are taking on such a turn that you find yourself arguing often, you find yourself feeling sick to your stomach sometimes talking to these people, you notice that you're starting to have some major health issues behind this type of personality, you got to avoid them, Dr. Black says. Avoid them as best as you can because they are going to complicate your life. And I am agreeing with this doctor. They will. All of these signs that I've mentioned to you today, God showed me in the people, some of which I disconnected with, some of which I distanced myself, but yet every now and again I will reach out or they'll reach out to me, and some that I'm dealing with on a regular basis. God said that one right there, you can't trust being in a business partnership with. That one is irresponsible. This one right here, you can't make him be anything more than he already is. So if you think that you can do more things and you can buy more and you can, that one lacks empathy. That one doesn't care that you do all of that. This one right here has a long history of difficult relationships. So what makes you so special? Forget what he or she told you. At the end of the day, it's going to be difficult being with that person. Sometimes they tell us that. They'll say, I'm not that one that's emotional. Okay, so he's telling you he's cold-hearted. I'm not that one that gets along with a lot of people. Right there, she's telling you it's going to be difficult being with her. She might be okay right now. She might be okay these past 5-6 months, but she do have a long history of having these difficult relationships with people. God showed me the manipulative types. He showed me how they will use you, abuse you, and throw you out when you're no longer performing, when you're no longer giving, when you're no longer somebody who they can feed off of. He showed me the deceitful people. Some of you all, you were exposed. You were exposed to the deceitful people in media, in the entertainment world, in your particular industry. Dishonest, deceitful people. God himself said, you got to come up out of that industry. You got to move away from those relatives. You got to find somebody else to talk to because that one is going to sooner or later get you to lie for him or her. Some of you all had to end fraternal groups, sister groups, what have you, because of all of the dishonesty and the lying and the conniving types of stuff that goes on. We got the violent folks, those cold-hearted, callous people, right? The signs are there. Hostile people, argumentative. Just because she's not arguing with you right now doesn't mean that she's not going to start jumping up in your face, rolling her neck, pointing at you at some point. See, there were many of those in my family who it was okay as long as they did it to those people out there in the street or elsewhere. But then when they started that mess with us, oh no, I draw the line. I'm going to treat you like I treated all them other ones that I went to school with and elsewhere. You're not going to do that to me. I know how to distance myself. You see, you got one time to show out. That's it. You see, the irresponsibility that shows up with the sociopath in your family. You gave them a simple task, something very simple. Pick up the phone, call such and such. Nope, they didn't do it. But they want you to do it for them now. I need you to go and run this errand. I need you to follow up about this. Nope. And they got all sorts of excuses. They're impulsive suddenly. They were single, right? Now they're married. Nobody knows the person, but they're married. That's a personality defect. And we wrote it off as, oh no, he's just in love, or she's just going through some things, and oh, I wish all the best on their marriage. And then it ends up being nothing more than foolishness. You see? And of course, they're risky. They don't mind sticking things and doing things and being the type of person that doesn't want to be safe. Don't mind getting into all sorts of behavior that is unrighteous, untrue, immoral. They have selective righteousness. And we see this with some of these Christian, sociopathic, narcissistic type of folks. And I'm going to close it out talking directly about the Christian. The Christian out there who says that it's okay and it's all right to do these things, to lie, to be cold, to be callous, to be irresponsible. You're not a Christian. At the end of the day, if you are promoting manipulative types of behavior, you got to check whether or not you are really following the one true God. I believe that you're following a God, but it's not the one true God, because Yahweh in the Old Testament, no. He destroys people who do this sort of thing. And sooner or later, somebody's going to end up seeing their life come to an end. Sooner rather than later, because of these types of behaviors. A sociopathic, narcissistic Christian who's running around here talking about they love Jesus, running around here using scriptures, but yet exhibiting all of these signs. So what they do is when they know this about themselves, or other people have, they'll go into hiding. And I have an audio that talks about when the narcissist goes into hiding. You can check that out. But the sociopath does the same thing. They don't want to be known. They don't want to be found out. And some of them, they really want to be different. And this is one final point. They want to be different. You might be that one that says, you know what? She's talking about me. I have exhibited these signs. This is why my relationships fall apart. This is why I'm not that close to my family. If I am talking about you, you know that you need to first of all pray. You need to pray like never before. You need to give all of this over to the one true God. The lack of empathy, the difficult relationships that you've had over the years, your manipulative behaviors, your deceitfulness, your coldness, right? Your callousness, I should say, being hostile, being impulsive. You give all of this over to the one true God and you say, Lord, I need to be cleansed of these things. I am not righteous in the least. I pretend like I am, but I'm not. And I ask in Jesus' mighty name that you help me, that you put me around people who will show me what to be in you, how to behave, who I'm supposed to be in you, I should say, right? The opposite of being these things is just simply being righteous. Being righteous, living a holy life. If there's any area of your life right now where you're behaving in this way, you've got to clean it up. It's got to be you. We can hear the information, but we got to do something about it, though. So you don't walk away from an audio message like this and just say that's a good message. No, you actually have to sit down and look at every area of your life where you're exhibiting these sorts of behaviors and stop. Risky behavior, stop, right? Impulsivity, come up with a plan as opposed to just randomly, I'm going to get this done, I'm going to get that done. Weigh the pros and cons. So I just pray right now in the name of Jesus for the individual who wants so much to change. I pray that you will, Lord Jesus, order his or her steps to the right place at the right time, Lord, around people who can show him or her the holy life, righteous living, that this person will first and foremost rededicate his or her life to Christ or be saved, sanctified, and Holy Ghost filled if he or she has never been saved. I pray in Jesus' mighty name that the angels of protection will be around an individual who has exhibited these signs and who has many enemies. And I pray, Lord Jesus, that this individual will get around the like-minded and not only listen, but actually do. The Lord says to those of you all who really want to change, you got to study and show thyself approved. That means that you got to start reading wisdom. Bible is your go-to source, as well as any author who talks about narcissism, sociopathic behaviors, antisocial personality disorders. Get some understanding. And when you get this understanding, you got to put it into practice. The counselor is going to give you some insight as to what to do. And you're going to have to break yourself down and tackle each and every issue. Drinking is a big issue. Gambling is a big issue with narcissism, narcissists as well as sociopaths. And then for others, it's not that, but it is the ego, being an egoist. That is a major issue. I'm better than others. I'm smarter than others. People owe me, feeling entitled, that sort of thing. These are all issues that you'll have to tackle if you really want to live your best life now, if you really want to do better all around. Thank you as always for taking the time out of your busy schedule to listen. You've been listening to YouTube NM Enterprise 7. Subscribe today. For those who would like to give, you are welcome to do so, and blessings to you.